Hey guys, today we're going to be doing twilight photos of this 1,500 square foot single story home in Gold Canyon, Arizona. We've already done a couple different products for this home. We've done aerial photos, aerial video, walkthrough video. So it's already partially set up. We're going to have to go back in and turn off the fans, but we're starting to lose light relatively quick. So we want to make sure that we get some front shots before twilight for the customer where there's still light out. So we're going to quickly start with the front. All right, so I already have my camera here ready to go. And let's do a center shot here. And the house is kind of up on a hill, so I have my tripod fully extended. Now today I'm using the A7R4 and the, which one is this? I think it's 12 to 24. Yeah, 12 to 24. F2.8, so a little bit change in gear, and and we're also using the Sony Bluetooth remote. So there's a nice center shot. Let's go left here. Now the white balance looks a little off. It looks pretty yellow. It is pretty yellow out here, but we'll adjust that in the editing process. Now our shadows are really far, or they're going really far since the sun is so low on the horizon. So we kind of want to keep an eye on that. My shadow may or may not have been in the last shot. Right here I'm going to focus on the house. I'm at 24. And then I'm going to take a wider shot where we can see the cul-de-sac and the mountains in the distance there. All right, so now let's move in closer. I'm gonna drop my tripod here without trying to drop my camera. Wish I had longer arms for this. All right, so coming in closer, we can get a nice closer, wider shot of the home. Not so wide out. Actually, I don't mind this shot here either. Let's get it. So I'm a little bit low. It's not that bad. I'm just going to tilt it up. In the editing process, we'll fix it. But I'll leave some space in the top so that when it does do the transform, we're not cutting off any portion of the house. All right, so now let's move in here. I like this the house number, and then we have this little nice entryway. This home is more like an Adobe style, so I'm gonna get a shot here, just showing the entryway here. Let me see my aperture. Oh, is that 3.5? Sorry, I can't, it's hard to tell. Hold on, let me change it to aperture priority. It was in program, I believe. Let me go to the menu. Let me just double check all my settings real quick. Actually gonna have to change it. So RAW and JPEG. JPEG size, we'll put it on small. I usually just do RAW, but we're needing JPEGs as well for this project. Distortion compensation, put it on auto. Let's go back to menu. Let me scroll through. Our drive mode is brackets, continuous, 5 EV3, 0.0 bracket settings. Timer off is good, 0. And then negative, and then the positive is fine. Let me double check my ISO settings. So I'm going to come over here, reduce this to 400, and I always just have mine on. You can do autofocus single, automatic, or continuous, however you want. Let me just double check. So I know my ISO, my light metering, let's see, that's multi, which is fine. ISO, auto white balance. All right, we're ready to go. So, all right, so now let's go inside. As always, we'll start with the entry shot here, but before we do, we're gonna adjust the interior fans. We're gonna shut them all off since we had them on for the video. Make sure to leave the lights on. Looks like all of these are on separate switches. There's no lights on these fans. So hopefully that's the fan. What's this? That one's the light. And then in the kitchen here. All right, I think it's slowing down. Now. All right. Let me just make sure there's not a fan in the bathroom. Nope. Fans are slowing down in all the rooms. Slowly but surely. So if we're super right here and you can't really see the fans, we can't really see the fans in this shot. It's good to go here. All right. Now my shutter speed is kind of slow. Let me drop my aperture to f4.0. And all right, let's continue. All right, so this room's already finished. Usually we do the main areas first. Since we're kind of on a time crunch for the sun, I'm gonna go ahead and shoot this room since the fan has already stopped here. And then I'll just rearrange in the editing process. All right, actually I was kind of high. Let's see here. All right, now in this room we only have one option of corner across the way, which is this one. The other one has a nightstand, so I'll just zoom in a little bit. All right, that's good. All right, fans stopped in this next room as well. So we'll just be here. Now for photos, I don't really like lens flares too much, so I'm just positioning my lens so you don't see it. I'm so used to pointing the remote at the camera. This one, you don't have to worry about that. All right, so I'm gonna position myself right here on this side of this chair. It's probably the best angle we can get. And then I can see myself right here in the shutter, the light, I guess the light coming in. So what we can do is either close these up a little bit, which is probably going to be our best bet for photos here. Since we already got the photos, we are going to want these back open just to add some light for the twilight shots. All right, and now we're not in the shot, so that looks good. All right, now let's move on to the bathroom. I'm gonna put the camera here on this, again, close to the door jamb. All right, that's all right. All right, so we got this room, that room. We got the entryway. So now that these fans are stopped, I'm going to get a shot here that kind of shows kind of the flow of the house. Now I'm going to work on the main areas here. Ideally, we would have shot this inside a little bit earlier, but I think we'll be all right. We'll be able to brighten them up. All right. All right, I'm also going to get a straight on shot here. And we're just shooting HDR today. This house may be a good one to add if you wanted to incorporate flash in it, just to add a little bit more color. It's kind of darker tones, and from a furniture perspective, whoop, I think I stopped it. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna keep giving myself a few more options. I don't think I got this angle here. Maybe I did, let me double check. Nope. All right, now we're transitioning back. All right. Now, ideally, I probably would have just gotten the front of that couch. So this position is a little bit better, I think. Yeah, a little better of an angle. All right. So now let's transition over here to the dining kitchen area. Maybe I'll get a wider shot that kind of shows both. And let me change my focus to, I don't like how it's between frames, it's jumping around. Let's see if AFS fixes that or not. All right, so if we're shooting this table with the chair, I usually don't like to get the back of a chair. I'll pick a spot in between two chairs. So like this one, we've got a nice view outside. Yeah, that now it looked like they all stayed. So let me get another shot without the window, just so the exposure is a little bit better. A lot of times, you know, when you're shooting into the windows, it'll be more blown out. All right, that was only 2 exposures. There we go. It's a couple times that has happened. So just pay attention to your brackets. You know, if one doesn't fire or you're not hearing 3, then just take another shot. There we go. All right, let me get a straight on shot here. Let me get wide. I can get really wide in here. So this is 16 millimeters, what we're looking at right now. This lens is 12 to 24. I usually don't like to go too far. Like 15's all right, but if you go to 12, it just starts looking kind of crazy. So this is a little bit wider. So you can get a little bit wider with this lens over the 16 to 35. But I would still say the 16 to 35 is a good all-around lens for real estate. All right, now let's kind of get this space right here. Hey, actually that's all right from a height perspective. I try to like get, so we have like a little space right here, and now we have kind of a straight across space right here. And there's a reflection in this, in the refrigerator, so I'm gonna get out of the way. And then we have a space right here. So I'm going to turn around, capture this, get out of the way. All right, now was I in the shot? Let me double check. Yes, a little impatient. All right. All right, so we got the kitchen, the dining room, the main living area. We got these rooms over here already. I'm gonna get a nice shot. Now we're gonna transition over to the master. And I'm gonna get a shot of the door, looking that way. And then we'll work our way down the hall. Maybe I'll get a shot of the hallway as well, just to show. There's that laundry room off the side. All right, so I'll come right in here. Just go right beyond that wall. Shoot the opposite corner, maybe a little bit lower. That looks pretty good. All right. Let me shoot this corner here. We've been working pretty fast in this house. Obviously, being a twilight shoot, I can still tell the sun has not set yet. We like to be outside usually 20 minutes after sunset. That's usually about the time where we can get some good twilight photos, so we still got time, at least 20 minutes. But we're almost finished with the inside, so I'm feeling good on time even though I didn't set my alarm. You can always just kind of pay attention to how the light looks as you're going through the house. All right, so here, we want to get a straight on shot here where we can see the shower, the bath. And then we're kind of in a spot where it'd be pretty easy to edit out. So let me, probably 16 millimeter. That looks good. So I'm going to get out of the way. I feel like this thing is moving down. Let's adjust it. All right. And now the closets aren't anything special. We can look inside them and see if, they're just regular closets. So at least I'm gonna get a shot that shows, all right, there's closet space in here and there's the toilet room. But I'm not gonna open them and take pictures of them. They're not really that much of a selling point of this home. But if the homeowner's here and they're like, hey, I always like to ask, is there anything in particular you want us to shoot? Obviously they're not here to ask, so I just use my best judgment. All right, and then for this vanity shot here, I'll come over here. Just try to get a shot of the vanity, the tub, and some of the shower. And you get some of that view outside. All right, that looks good. All right, now I think the only things we have left right now are the laundry room, the garage, and then we'll do some backyard shots before it gets totally twilight. We got the front shots. So let me get this shot real quick. And the white balance looks terrible. If you want to see a more accurate white balance around twilight time, a lot of times I'll switch my white balance from auto white balance to tungsten or incandescent. That'll give you a much more accurate of what you're going to be. Now, if you're shooting raw, you don't have to worry about it so much because we can just make that adjustment in post-production. But if for some reason or another you're using JPEG, you want to make sure that your white balance is pretty much spot on when you're shooting, because you can't make too big of adjustments without it looking pretty bad. All right, let me turn on the light in here. All right, so I'm just gonna there's a bunch of random stuff over here. I just want to show these cabinets, and you got the water heater and the refrigerator and the water softener over there. So I'm just gonna pick a kind of a wider shot. Let me bring up my tripod. A little bit too much flooring. All right, make sure it's stopped. All right, that actually wasn't too bad of an exposure. I thought it was pretty dark in here. We might experience a long exposure, but not too bad. There's some really nice shots out here. Let me get a shot from the inside. The windows just looking out, kind of the views of what from inside the house before we transition out. All right, so now here outside, we're gonna start here with just a shot looking out, and we're getting some nice, it looks like a nice sunset, so these earlier shots will look nice as well. And depending on what is, the surroundings, a lot of people, so like right now, if we come out here, you'll see that the mountains are kind of lit up. So these are some shots that agents will prefer as well. Sometimes when people say twilights, it obviously means super dark, but a lot of times it's like if they may want the sun setting photos as well on the outside. So you probably just want to clarify that if you're not familiar with what your agent wants. Now, all right, I'm just going to focus on getting all these more daytime looking porch shots. Got a nice little set here. We got these chairs. Obviously, they don't look very nice, and we got this little area. I just want to kind of show, relaxing out back in your porch. All right, so so now I'm gonna shoot back this way off of the porch. I think I got a closer in shot here, so I'm gonna get two. Maybe I'll get a shot there and a shot here, and then we'll do the same thing on the other porch, and then we'll get those wider shots that we can get through this little ravine area, just looking back at the house. And now with the wide angle lens, you can't really capture the mountain views that well. So with this camera, I think this is why the 16-35 is a little more well-rounded for real estate, because I can only go to 24 right now. That being said, I can use the APS-C mode to zoom in even more. But that also being said, I'm shooting with the A7R4 and it's a 60 megapixel image, and we can basically zoom in digitally, and that's what we're just going to work with right now. I'm not going to switch it to APS-C mode because essentially that's what APS-C mode does. It just does a digital zoom on the sensor. But anyways, I'm going to try to get a more zoomed in shot of the sun setting on the mountains. So I'll capture a little bit of the home. That's, you know, as far in as we can get. But you'll have more flexibility at 35 millimeter. You know, I definitely don't recommend shooting every day with a 60 megapixel camera. All right, let's try to get the whole home here. So let me see how wide do we want to. So that would be 16. Oh, that actually doesn't look too bad. Now these shots at this time of day, oftentimes, watch out for the cactus ray. You know, the skies will be pretty blown out, so you'll likely need to do a sky replacement. What am I at, 16? All right, we'll capture this. We can't really go too far, much further back. Even though I don't like the fact that we're cropping off each edge of the home. Sometimes it's all you got, you have to work with from a spacing perspective. All right, now let's work on this further edge of the lot and just shoot towards the house. Actually, I really like this. I like how the sky's already looking away from the sun setting. All right, and then I'll get a wider shot here on the outside of the porch showing that setting, the mountains. I don't know what that is. Maybe a rattlesnake trap or something. I can guarantee you there's some rattlesnakes out here within 20 yards of us. All right. All right, so we got the front shots. We got the corner shot. You know what? I'm gonna get a shot. I want to try to connect. I guess we already kind of got that shot of the mountains. I'll get this wall here. I don't like to just shoot random shots of just nature without it connecting to the property. So like here we have this wall and we got that little bridge area. We're still on the property and that's what we're looking at. Now we're pretty far in, pretty far away. We may digitally zoom in a bit in post-production, but I'm just trying to do a checklist. So right now is about sunset because I'm not seeing any light on the mountains anymore, and it's 5:20. So in about 15 to 20 minutes, we'll be starting to do another exterior round for the twilight, more darker twilight looking photos. So yeah, so I feel confident with the shots that we got so far. So we'll just wait for that time for 15 to 20 minutes and we'll resume then. All right, so during the time that we're waiting between our daytime photos and our twilights, we're gonna go through the house and just make sure it's all set for our twilight photos. So make sure that the sconces are on, basically all the lights. And we're gonna reopen those shutters that we had closed earlier for the interior shot. And then also make sure that the backlighting is on as well. So let's go ahead and do that. If the home is occupied, you want to make sure to let the homeowner know to keep the lights on. Now in this room, there really isn't any lights except for that lamp. All right, the lamp. We'll get what we can get, and what we'll try to do is put these so that you can see as best as possible through it, so as much light comes in, comes outside through the windows. All right, this room we basically closed them all, so we'll go ahead and put them back in the middle. All right, so this room is good. And don't have to worry about in here. Now there's not any window coverings, all the lights are still on in here. So this is gonna be perfect for our back shots. And now the backyard, is that a light? Okay. I just turned the light on there. And then in the master, it looks like there's some lights to be turned on over there as well. So we'll make our way over to the master bedroom. All right. All right, so that turned on that light. Now we got these two lights. Ooh, man, there was a bird that just flew out of there too. There's a fan, there's a third switch, so I'm not gonna turn that on. It's likely for the fan, so. All right, so those lights are on. Now I'm gonna double check the garage. The color bulb in there looks tungsten to me. If it was like a fluorescent bulb, I may consider turning it off because it'll just make the photo, or the windows in the garage look blue in the photos. But yeah, so I went through, made sure all the lights were still on. All the exterior lights are now on. The shutters are now fixed. So now we'll just wait a few more minutes and then we'll get started with the photos. All right, guys, it's now 20 minutes after sunset and we're gonna get started with the exterior twilight photos. Now I'm gonna basically do the same thing that we did earlier today. I'm gonna extend my tripod, scoot back, and get a nice center shot. It's still looking pretty bright out here. Let me just zoom in a little bit. Use my remote. I'm at f4. I'm gonna bring it back up to 7.1, and we'll see how long my exposures are. They're extremely slow. So this is one, so I don't like having exposures. This is really slow. I think it's still on the darker exposure, and then it's gonna go bright. We'll see. Is it going or not? Maybe it's not going. All right, I'm gonna drop my aperture to 4. Let me see. All right, that's acceptable. So beyond dropping your aperture, you would boost your ISO a little bit if you needed to. All right, so I'm gonna zoom in here. I'm gonna get actually a shot here with the mountain. Man, why is it? Here, I'm gonna go into my menu, go to bracket settings, turn it on to a 2-second bracket. And now it'll fire, no problem. I guess the remote is causing some problems. All right, let's move back over here to the left. Get a nice wide shot. I like, we got pretty much the whole lot in this picture. We're showing a lot of the neighbor's house, so I'm gonna get another shot zoomed in on the house. Obviously the front shots are the most important ones, unless they have a killer backyard. That's all I got. I'm used to being able to zoom in more, but with this 12 to 24, I'm gonna have to scoot up. All right. Come over here a little bit. This is looking pretty nice here. I'm gonna avoid that fire hydrant. Focus on the house here. All right. I'm gonna do center. This is a good looking shot right here. Now those wider shots were important to get for this particular house just because there's no neighbors next door and the lot's pretty big, and it's important to showcase the selling features of the individual property, whatever you feel is, or the homeowners or the agents. We always try to get input from the agents, what they want us to focus on. This is a great shot here as well. All right, now I'm gonna move in. gonna drop my tripod here. Try not to get hit in the face by my tripod. All right, so I'm going to just get this entryway. I don't know if this shot's gonna turn out all right. Let me zoom in a little bit. Too much garage. The garage is really just too distracting. All right, this actually might turn out all right. We'll see. Looks like we got some detail where it was blown out on the sconce, and then hopefully some detail by that dark door. All right, let's head around back. There's no fence on this property, I don't think. So we'll just come around the side, get the back shots. Let's see. Now I'm gonna start on that side of the house because when I'm shooting this way, that's where the sun is setting. And if you look at it, the sky is still pretty bright. But if I turn this way, it's much darker already. So I plan on, I'll probably reshoot the front and the back twice just to have a couple different light set scenarios. And you'll be surprised like how often I'll be like, I'll take one set and I'll be like, I didn't think to myself, that's all I really need. But then I end up using the other set that I didn't think was gonna turn out as good. All right, so the exposure's starting to get pretty long. So let me boost my ISO to 16. Let's start with 800. I don't want to go much. I just want it a little bit faster. All right, let's get this setting right here. All right. And so I'm gonna try to get all the shots shooting towards that direction right now. All right, got the mountains in the distance. All right, let me see if, I guess we could get a straight on shot as well from right here. Now obviously with the longer exposures, you know, if the wind's blowing, it can sometimes look bad, or you can accidentally hit your tripod and it'll make the exposure blurry. That's why I just try to manage a decent shutter speed. I don't like it too slow. All right, so we got some wider ones. I don't think we got this angle here, so I'm gonna shoot this way. And the lights from this house are pretty overpowering. They almost look like street lights to me. Like you can see how yellow the shots are. We'll probably have to reduce the saturation of yellows or oranges in the editing side of these photos. All right, so I'm trying to think. So we got shots here, shots short. Let me just review the photos real quick. Just to see the variety that we have here in the backyard. I actually like that one a lot. That one turned out pretty good. That one's good. So, you know, did I capture all the good selling features of, you know, back here? Maybe I could get some shots just straight out looking at the views at Twilight. I still have time before it gets too much darker, I think, or much darker. I think 5 minutes and we'll want to reshoot the front. Now I think the exposure is going to start to get a a lot longer, so I'll go to 1600 on my ISO. It's pretty dark out there. All right, let me move right here. Let me capture this. And I'm glad I got the earlier shots. If I was back here and these are the only shots that I have, my initial impression of these shots right now are that, you know, it's so dark that this tungsten orange style light is kind of overpowering my photos. All right, so let's get another shot here. And I can't remember if I got another shot of the setting here towards the mountains at Twilight. I don't believe I did, so I might as well grab it real quick before we head back out front. Yeah, that sky is still pretty bright out there. All right, so I think that'll do it for the backyard. And let's make our way back to the front. All right, yeah, it's quite a bit darker now than when it was earlier. So now I'm just probably gonna take 3 or 4 more shots out front. Let me extend my tripod a little bit. Let me zoom in. Just kind of the wider shot. I really like this shot, I think. All right, now we'll move to the front, center shot. All right, and then after this shot, I think we just do one more kind of center shot here of the whole home a little closer, and I think that's gonna do it. I think those closer up shots aren't gonna look as good right now. All right. All right, guys, well, that's gonna do it for the Twilight photos of this particular home. And I feel confident in the shots that we got. Now, before we leave, we're gonna put the home back in the condition in which we found it. And that's gonna do it for this video. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. We'll see you guys on the next one.